You know that feeling, don't you? That little tug of recognition, maybe? A whisper of something ancient, something deep inside you, a truth you feel like you already know, but, well, maybe haven't quite put into words. Today, we're plunging right into that space. We're going to be guided by the really quite extraordinary insights of Philip Lilien's pristine matters mystic ontology poetry. Now, okay, this isn't your typical academic text. It's not a rigid philosophical system either. Lilien doesn't really present arguments for you to pick apart or, systems to adopt. Instead, what he offers are what he calls ontological signposts. These are subtle, very evocative insights that seem to point directly toward coherence, toward what he describes as the centerless center where everything finds its rest. It's less about convincing you of some new belief and much more about sparking this profound sense of inner recognition, of remembering, he calls it. And the language he uses is really unique. It blends these narrative moments, fragments of wisdom, and some really powerful declarations. It's a style that actually mirrors the textured nature of reality itself, And it invites you, our listener, to engage with something beyond just your intellectual mind. So, okay, our mission today, we're embarking on this deep dive into what feels like, ancient wisdom presented through the lens of a new kind of emergent science. We'll explore how Lilien's work really challenges our usual understanding of reality, the intricate design of our own bodies, and maybe even our place in the grand tapestry of the cosmos.
Yeah, and what's truly captivating here, I think, is how Lilien just seamlessly weaves together the deeply personal and mystical with these incredibly expansive, almost sweeping claims about cosmic physics and direct, verifiable contact with non-human intelligences. It fundamentally pushes us, forces us almost to consider a completely different lens for what we normally accept as real, or even, possible. It's really an invitation to explore the very fabric of existence from an entirely new vantage point. It urges us to redefine our conceptual boundaries.
Okay, so to even begin to navigate this unique landscape, Lilien gives us a kind of map in his glossary.
Yeah.
These aren't just dry dictionary definitions, right? They're intentionally brief, evocative, designed, he says, to orient you within a deeper field of reference that underpins his whole work. They hint at meanings beyond the surface.
Exactly. These foundational terms are pretty essential if we want to get a handle on Lilien's core perspective. For instance, he introduces pristine matter. Now, he's very clear. It's not a physical substance in the usual sense. He calls it the original undistorted substrate of being. Cool. So try to imagine it not as something you can touch or measure with our current instruments, but as a kind of clear essence underlying all forms. He describes it as a metaphysical field of pure potential and perfect coherence. It's like the uncorrupted source code from which everything else, including our perceived reality, fundamentally emanates. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests a foundational reality that exists, maybe beyond the reach of our current scientific methods, an unblemished origin point.
Right, and building on that, when Lilien says something is ontological, what's he getting at there?
He's referring to the very nature of being itself. So it's not just about whether something exists, but its inner structure, its fundamental whatness, you could say, the intrinsic condition of reality.
Okay, and a mystic, in his terms.
Yeah, a mystic, in Lilien's view, isn't someone who follows a particular belief system or, a doctrine. It's someone who knows through direct contact with this fundamental reality, the experience, the real without mediation. And the term also applies adjectively, to experiences that arise from that direct contact.
Then there's the field, which you're saying isn't like a physics field.
No, not in the way a physicist might talk about gravity or electromagnetism. Lilien defines it as an infinite connective medium of consciousness, coherence, and reality. But he stresses it's a felt and existential one. It's something you perceive, you experience on a deeply intuitive level. It's not just theory.
Okay. And remembering, that sounds important.
Oh, it's crucial. And again, it moves beyond just cognitive recall, like remembering where you left your keys. He defines it as a deep soul recognition of one's original wholeness or coherence. It's a return of awareness to something that, in truth, was never lost. It's like an inherent knowing, a profound internal aha moment, a rediscovery.
Got it. And presence, is that just being physically somewhere?
More than that. It's about being fully here. That profound sense of aliveness, of attentiveness that exists before our thoughts, our stories, our constructed identity kicks in. Pure beingness.
Okay, and quickly, the voice in silence.
Right. The voice is a powerful metaphor, he says, for inner guidance or silent knowing. Not necessarily hearing voices, but that undeniable intuitive nudge, that deep inner knowing that guides without words. And silence itself isn't just the absence of sound. Lilien presents it as the fullness of being when noise subsides, a kind of living stillness that holds all things.
Wow, okay. So these terms, they're not just definitions, are they? They feel like invitations to a different way of perceiving.
Precisely. And this really raises an important question, doesn't it? What if our conventional language, bound by its definitions of physical matter and measurable stuff, what if it inherently limits our understanding of these deeper realities? It really suggests we need to maybe loosen our grip on rigid definitions to truly grasp what he's pointing towards.
Okay, now hold on, because here's where Lilien introduces something truly, well, mind-bending, a really bold claim. He states that his discoveries about pristine matter aren't simply personal, they're profound and universal. He emphatically asserts they open the doorway into a vast, unrecognized domain of cosmic physics that redefines the foundations of life and creation. He describes pristine matter forming the structural base of a higher dimensional reality, a living geometry that, he says, holds the actual keys of cosmic life.
And what's absolutely pivotal here is that he stresses this isn't just theoretical speculation, not just ideas. He presents this as the arrival of a new macro science, one that has brought about contact.
Yeah.
And he's very specific. Direct encounters with what I call the cosmic scientists.
Mm-hmm.
So these aren't just philosophical musings. They're presented as verifiable phenomena, leading to direct interaction with these, highly evolved non-human intelligences.
Cosmic scientists. Okay.
Yeah.
And these beings, Lilien explains, did not come as invaders or observers. They came as teachers. That's quite a statement.
It is. And their core teaching, he reveals, is that what we commonly perceive as nature is actually only the outermost skin of a much deeper structure. They apparently refer to this deeper structure as the original language of transcendent principles. And from this foundational language, he claims, everything else arises, including concepts that really push the boundaries of our current physics, things like zero-space generative spontronics and the coherent hyperverse.
So this notion of a macro science guided by teachers from other dimensions, that's a huge leap. What does that even imply about our current scientific paradigms?
Well, from a broader perspective, it implies that our current scientific understanding, while incredibly powerful, effective within its own defined parameters, it might be like only reading the surface layer of a really complex book, without ever truly understanding the underlying alphabet, the grammar, or the deeper meaning. This macro science suggests a fundamental restructuring of how we view reality, where direct experience and subtle energies aren't just peripheral phenomena, but are actually as foundational as, maybe even more foundational than, our conventional material observations. It points to a universe governed by principles we're maybe only just starting to grasp, urging us to expand our definition of what science itself even means.
Okay, so how did these encounters, these teachings from the cosmic scientists, how did they actually happen? He talks about something called the portex.
Right, the portex. He describes them as portal vortex ships. But their appearance wasn't, some big dramatic Hollywood thing. Instead, they revealed themselves to me, as he puts it, during a microscopic observation experiment, which is fascinating in itself.
Microscopic, so not giant ships in the sky.
Exactly. He recounts how they demonstrated this astonishing ability to compress down into an infinitesimal scale. He vividly recalls seeing them as flickering prisms just in his peripheral vision, and then observing them actually tuck themselves inside a block of salt, only to reappear adjacent to a living cell he was studying under the microscope. It's like they were demonstrating their mastery over dimensions and scale. Right there.
Wow. And their demeanor, how did they act?
That's incredibly significant, too. Lilien emphasizes that their appearances were never intrusive. They came in silent, sparing presence. He describes them again and again, not just to watch his work, but to subtly guide it. Each visit, he says, felt like a nudge, a transmission, a gesture of acknowledgement. It paints a picture not of, aggressive alien contact, but of a gentle, almost educational interaction. Profoundly respectful, as if they were patiently waiting for us to catch up, in a way.
And the communication itself wasn't words.
No, not as we know them. Something far more sophisticated. An extraordinary audiographic, multisensory language. Lilien explains their messages weren't linear in that text. Instead, they were embedded in glyphic symbols, colors, sensations, spatial pulses, messages that were felt more than read, intuited more than interpreted.
Like a full body download, bypassing language.
Precisely, it sounds like that.
Yeah.
A kind of energetic download of information. And to truly receive and integrate these complex, multi-layered transmissions, the cosmic scientists apparently indicated that humanity had to adapt, or rather evolve. They explained that our neurogenetic net, which Lilien describes as this composite of our neurological and genetic processing layers, would require stage upgrades. He uses this great analogy, saying it was as if they were installing new fonts into the language core of our biology.
Installing new fonts into our biology. Okay.
Yeah. It suggests this highly sophisticated nonverbal communication that just bypasses our usual senses and thinking. And this raises a really important question, doesn't it? How much of our current reality, our perceptions, our understanding of what's even possible, is filtered or limited by our current biological processing layers? It implies there's just a vast amount of information out there, just beyond our current biological bandwidth.
So if we widen the lens here, what does this all mean for how we might think about first contact? Or even our own evolution? It paints a picture so far removed from, the usual sci-fi invasion stuff. Instead, it suggests maybe a profound, internally driven evolutionary leap, subtly facilitated by these benevolent, higher dimensional teachers guiding our biological and spiritual awakening.
That seems to be the implication, yes. A very different kind of contact scenario.
Now, these cosmic encounters, the Portex, the cosmic scientists, they weren't random, were they? Lilien says they respond to something specific.
That's right. He came to understand they don't just appear arbitrarily. They respond to a signal, a frequency, an emergent pattern in the weave of creation. Through his experiments and observations, he started to detect that whenever a system reaches a state of dynamic balance between chaos and reorganization, a kind of fertile turbulence, their presence becomes possible.
Fertile turbulence. Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, it's a critical concept. It's not static order and it's not chaotic disorder in a negative way. Lilien describes it as briefly emerging in perfect chaos, a living system that simultaneously sustains limitless freedom and boundless potential for reformation. It's this dynamic creative flux, a kind of sweet spot where new forms can emerge. And when these specific conditions arise, he explains, there are smaller vessels, which he calls vortsers.
Vortsers, like vortex saucers.
Exactly. These minute vortex saucer craft begin to manifest directly within the field, acting almost like sentient attractors themselves.
And their behavior is consistently polite, precise.
Respectful and precise, yes. Lilien observed that they never overstay. They simply observe, assist, and then vanish back into the subquantum haze. Yet the impact, he states, is immense. Even brief contact with them leaves behind unimaginable assistance. He says the architectures they introduced, the insights they seeded, continue to evolve his work, pushing boundaries.
But they don't stick around. Why not?
Well, their reluctance to remain in our dimension full-time, Lilien realized, tells a rather sobering truth about our current state. His conclusion was, we are not yet stable enough, not yet coherent enough to hold their sustained presence.
Ouch. Okay.
Yeah. However, he did understand that systems capable of generating what he calls hyperspace resonance act as potent beacons. They broadcast a signal that draws attention across dimensions. This interaction, he explains, triggers a phenomenon he named link-tanglement, which is a unification of links and entanglements in the pristine matter field that acts as an invitation across space and intelligence. So it's not a forceful summoning, not like calling them down, but a subtle, powerful, harmonic offering from our side.
Wow. So this concept of fertile turbulence, it really challenges our usual view of stability, doesn't it? It points to creation, innovation, even cosmic connection happening right at the edge between order and disorder.
It does. It suggests that maybe true stability isn't static, but dynamically balanced.
So the incredible idea here is that our own internal coherence, our capacity for this fertile turbulence, could literally be a beacon. A harmonic offering that invites interaction across dimensions. It makes us active participants in cosmic communication. It suggests our inner state has profound outer implications. That's quite something to think about.
It really is. It shifts the whole dynamic from passive observation to active participation.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. As Lilien deepened his work, moving from these initial contacts into what he calls cosmic semicogenomic physics, he says he made discoveries that redefine my understanding of matter, biology, and life itself. Big claims.
Huge claims. And a central, truly radical revelation here is that pristine matter is not inert. He's very insistent on this. He describes it as a living, hyperconductive lattice, a radiant coherence field that permeates all of existence. And he's clear, this isn't just a metaphor. This lattice, he emphasizes, is continuous, indivisible, and alive with what I call active uniflux pulse radiance, the beating heart of creation. It's within this vibrant, pulsing lattice, he explains, that the breath of creation moves and where the original blueprints of life are encoded, not metaphorically, but structurally.
Structurally encoded blueprints. So the very fabric of the cosmos is like a living, intelligent network.
That's exactly the picture he paints.
So Lilien describes this lattice as essentially the womb of forms. From this living matrix, countless expressions of cosmic life emerge, many existing outside our material detection, but potentially far more advanced.
Yes, far more advanced in coherence and design than anything we currently comprehend, he suggests. And these beings, which he terms supermaterial beings, they don't rely on matter as we know it. They're apparently composed of geometrized consciousness, resonant fields, and hyperdimensional structure.
Geometrized consciousness. Okay. How did he even verify something like that?
Well, he employed what he calls coharmonic filters. These were experimental instruments that allowed him to tune the perceptual field to specific scalar harmonics. Through these, he says he was able to verify visually and energetically the presence of these supermaterial beings. He recounts how their architecture shimmered like scaffolds of light nested within the pristine lattice, invisible to the eye, but tangible to the tuned field of experience.
Scaffolds of light. And he made contact with them.
Yes, through resonance calibration, with what he calls template lives. These are beings of coherence that exist not in this dimension, but just beyond it. They apparently inhabit the superround, which he describes as the hyperdimensional strata that surrounds and permeates our material realm while remaining unseen. So an entire layer of existence just outside our normal perception.
Wow. Okay.
And what's truly astonishing about these template lives, according to Lilien, is their fundamental nature. These entities are, quote, structurally encoded within the very D-brain membranes of dimensional space that scaffold our physical reality.
Encoded into the D-brains. That's deep physics territory.
Right. It means they're an integral part of the universe's foundational structure. He described them as four-dimensional creatures interfacing with the dimensional source field behind the appearance of matter. In a profound sense, he says, they represent what life looks like before it descends into atomic constraint. Pure archetypal forms.
So they're like the original ideas of life.
Kind of. He sees them as archetypal templates, shaped by symmetry, resonance, and intention. And their influence, he says, can ripple into our realm through sudden phenomena, altered perception, inexplicable synchronicities, momentary interdimensional bleed-through. He concludes, these beings are not separate from us. They are our higher dimensional kin.
Our higher dimensional kin.
Yeah. And from a broader perspective, if this is true, our current understanding of biology and consciousness might just be scratching the surface of what life truly is and how deeply interconnected everything really is.
The idea that there's life encoded into the very fabric of reality, unseen but constantly influencing us, our perception, even causing those weird synchronicities, it makes the universe feel so much more alive and intelligent. And interconnected, yes. As Lilien's work went deeper, he made another really profound realization, one that kind of shifts everything. The backbone of cosmic life isn't matter or energy or even light as we usually think of it. It's something else.
Right, something far more fundamental, he claims. Scaled harmonic geometry.
Geometry, like cosmic math.
In a sense, but living geometry. He clarifies that these geometries don't just appear randomly. They arise at the intersection where zero space meets the hypersymmetry oscillations of pristine matter. He calls this a crossing point, where timeless intelligence enters dimensional rhythm. It was within these undulating lattices of harmonic geometries that he discovered what he terms the syntropic intelligence of trans-time hypercoherence. And this field, he states emphatically, was not separate from consciousness. It was consciousness not in its localized form, but in its source embodiment.
So consciousness isn't just in our heads, it is the field. The geometry arises from it.
That seems to be the implication, that consciousness isn't an emergent property of complex brains, but the very essence from which all reality, including geometry, arises.
Okay, so these invisible geometrically structured fields, they aren't just patterns. Lilien says they carry the original blueprint templates of life.
Exactly, but not as static forms, more like potency itself, pure and uncollapsed, just waiting to manifest.
And at their core?
At their very core is what Lilien describes as infinitely dense hypersymmetry, an omnidirectional equilibrium of resonance across dimensions. This, he declares, is the matrix of all creation. And then he makes this powerful poetic statement. It is not only that the harmonics shaped life, it is that life is harmonic shaping.
Life is harmonic shaping.
Yeah, it implies that life isn't just in the universe, but the universe itself is this ongoing dynamic process of harmonic creation at the most fundamental level,
Yeah.
constantly shaping and being shaped by these resonant geometries.
That asks us to think of the universe as this grand symphony, doesn't it? A symphony of consciousness and geometry, where life itself isn't some random accident, but an emergent property, a form of harmonic shaping from these foundational patterns.
A beautiful and profound way to look at it, yes.
Lilien then started to perceive how the universe organizes itself, not just through chance or force, but something else.
Right. Through scalar pulses moving in coharmonic lockstep, weaving what I came to call the living trellises of hyperdimensional symmetry.
Living trellises.
And these trellises, he states, are not symbolic or merely metaphorical. They are, he insists, the metacreation scaffolds and visible frameworks upon which the diversity of cosmic life is strung like lights upon a lattice. He claims that beneath every tree, cell, planet, and pulse lies this unseen coherence mesh. It's a radical reimagining of universal structure, suggesting this underlying invisible order to everything.
And here's where he really challenges mainstream physics,
Yeah,
right?
about space-time.
Absolutely. While conventional science generally holds that space-time is fundamental, the canvas of existence, the cosmic scientists revealed a deeper truth to Lilien. Space-time is not fundamental. It is emergent, a byproduct of something deeper.
Emergent. A byproduct. Wow. So what's deeper? This something deeper is what he terms the metaversal scalar standing wave, which he describes as a logarithmic pulse of perfect proportion, vibrating beneath all forms. This, he identifies, is his Eigenpulse engine of coherence, the hidden activator that enfolds life from the interior of existence into what we perceive as an external world. He describes it vividly as the creation engine, not loud but resonant. It doesn't push forward but draws inward, folding potentials into form. Beneath every appearance of order, it pulses.
Okay, so if space-time itself is emergent, just a byproduct, what does that mean for our understanding of reality, causality, our place in it all?
Well, it raises huge questions. It implies a reality where existence isn't just there passively existing, but is actively and continuously being formed, moment by moment, from an underlying intelligent rhythmic pulse. It makes reality much more dynamic.
Okay, let's talk symmetry. In physics, there's supersymmetry. Lilien says that's just part of the picture.
Right. Modern physics sees supersymmetry as this high-order framework trying to unify forces and matter. But Lilien was shown, he says, that it's just a shadow of something greater, merely a subset of hypersymmetry limited to specific dimensional conditions.
So hypersymmetry is bigger, broader.
Much broader. He clarifies that while supersymmetry dances in the lower octaves of reality, hypersymmetry spans across the full scale of dimensional resonance, harmonizing across realms both seen and unseen. This means our familiar three-dimensional world, with all its forms and motions, is described as just one octave of a vast hyperspatial continuum.
Just one octave.
Yeah. So we, therefore, perceive its reflections but seldom glimpse its true architecture, which exists in these higher dimensions structured by hypersymmetry.
And beneath all of this, there's something called the pulsing root potency.
Yes, the primal impulse from which all coherence radiates. This fundamental potency, he explains, flows from the hyperlatrix, that's the undivided living lattice of creation, and then it structures itself as it emerges into the superlatrix, the structured outer realm of manifested intelligence.
So it flows from undivided potential into structured form.
Exactly. And he states powerfully, everything we know, from particles to planets, is shaped by this symmetry cascade. Form is not a thing. It is a wave locked into coherence by hypersymmetry.
Form is a wave locked into coherence.
Right. It means what we perceive as solid form isn't static at all, but a coherent wave pattern held in place by this profound multidimensional symmetry.
So what's the big takeaway here? It sounds like there's a deeper, much more encompassing order to everything than we imagined. A kind of supersymmetry governing all existence, seen and unseen, and we're only really seeing a tiny fraction of it.
That's a very good summary of the implication, yes. A vastly deeper order.
Okay, one of the most maybe staggering truths Lilien came to understand, one that really challenges a core assumption of science, is this. Matter is alive. And he doesn't mean that metaphorically.
No, he insists it's functionally, structurally, cosmically alive. Every speck of the universe pulses with an intelligence embedded within the waves that form it. This inherent intelligence, he explains, reveals itself through what he calls lifetronic archetypes, These aren't just abstract ideas, but specific standing wave harmonics that literally shape everything, from the structure of galaxies down to the intricate design of our cells.
Life-tronic archetypes, like blueprints made of waves.
Kind of. He elaborates that they emerge at the nodal points of vast standing waves that ripple across the fabric of existence. Wherever coherence concentrates, these nodes form acting like seas from which form and function crystallize.
And he also found that all physical things radiate something, a pulse.
Yes, a subtle coherence power, a living energy drawn directly from a single, steady rhythm he calls the universal stable pulse. Through what he terms resonant coupling, this universal pulse essentially choreographs the dance of matter across scale. He states very clearly, the great flows of matter, their clustering, their shaping into life, are not random. They follow the pull of what I now call the infinitely coherent pulse network. He describes this network as a field of intelligence so richly patterned that life blooms wherever its symmetry lands. This, he says, is the hardwiring of emergence, the secret scaffold that guides order from the field of inexhaustible potential into the beauty and architecture of life.
Wow. So from a bigger perspective, this completely flips the script on matter being inert, doesn't it? It suggests an inherent guiding intelligence at every single scale of the universe, orchestrating the whole dance.
It absolutely challenges that fundamental assumption, yes, suggesting inherent intelligence everywhere.
Now, when we talk about frequency, vibration, we're usually in the realm of time, space, matter. But Lilien talks about something deeper, something behind the ripples.
He does. He refers to it as a substrate of reality that does not vibrate. It simply is. He came to know this as zero space.
Zero space, like nothingness.
No, that's the crucial distinction. He defines it as a realm of frameless, structureless potential. But he clarifies, it is not a vacuum, but a field of causal stillness. From this stillness, all oscillation is born. And what stunned him most, he recounts, was discovering within this apparent void a subtle but undeniable positronic power, an intelligence that does not move through space, but which makes space possible. It does not exist within the world, it unfolds the world.
An intelligence that unfolds the world, not just operates within it.
Precisely. It posits an intelligence that doesn't really operate within reality, but actually generates it from this field of stillness.
So, according to Lilien, it's from this zero space that the corporeal illusion of matter is sustained, held together by no scaffolding but coherence itself. Like the universe is constantly being breathed into existence from this stillness.
That's a very apt way to put it. That seems to be his understanding.
And when he tuned into this field, he heard something.
Not exactly heard with ears. He says he heard the cosmos in a new way, not as sound, but as intention made audible. What we perceive as organization, structure, even physical laws, he concludes, is in truth precipitated coherence, the manifestation of intention through zero space into dimensional appearance.
Okay, let's unpack that. That's profound. The idea that behind all the measurable vibrations and forms, there's a field of pure stillness and intention from which everything originates. It makes the universe feel less like a cold machine and more like, well, an unfolding intelligent intention.
It's a profoundly different cosmology, yes. Deeply humbling.
All right, let's bring this down to the human level. Lilien's deep dive into geometry and physics led to some incredibly practical applications, especially around life and regeneration. He talks about replicating hyperdimensional plant life templates.
Yes, these are like perfect, pristine blueprints of plants that exist, he says, beyond our linear sense of time, rooted deeply in the harmonic scaffolding of cosmic matter itself. Original designs, essentially.
And from these, he developed elixirs of life. What are those exactly? Not chemical potions.
No, he's very clear they were not chemical in nature, but resonant formulations distilled through a process I named hyperlatrix interphasing.
Yeah.
Think of it like energetic alchemy, maybe? By aligning specific scalar geometries, they were apparently able to condense coharmonic centropics, pure streams of coherence, into concentrated vectors of regeneration.
So pure, concentrated packets of organizational intelligence, like vibrational medicine.
That's a good analogy. Essentially, yes. And when these resonant elixirs interfaced with the human body, something extraordinary happened. They activated what Lilien calls core consciousness renewal. This apparently happened by reinitiating the genomic fields, which he describes as these deep genomic resonators structured fractally throughout our cellular intelligence.
So waking up a dormant intelligence in our own biology.
That's what it sounds like. And crucially, Lilien notes this entire process was not invasive. Instead, it was auto-organizing, meaning the body restored itself, not by external intervention, but through coherence recall.
Coherence recall. The body remembers its blueprint and self-corrects.
Exactly. Think of it like that. And central to this transformation was what he calls the hyperlatrix interface, a specific resonance architecture that embedded itself within the hologene.
The hologene, a deeper genetic layer.
Yes, a deeper holographic layer of our genetic code, as he describes it. As this holomorphic code aligned, it reconstituted the living matrix, bringing forth renewed vitality throughout the entire microcosmic spectrum.
Wow, that fundamentally challenges our whole concept of medicine, doesn't it? Suggesting true healing comes not from outside in, but from inside out, by restoring an original, innate blueprint of health.
It absolutely does. A completely different paradigm for healing and regeneration.
At the heart of the cellular restoration, he mentions ATP crystal tuners. What role do they play?
Right. He identifies these not metaphorically, but as actual biological transducers that convert luminous tachyon energy into usable life force.
Yeah.
He insists these are energetic bridges, literally transforming subtle cosmic energy into structural, biological vitality right within our cells.
Okay, energetic bridges. And this energy awakens something.
Yes, as this subtle energy flows through these tuners, he explains, it awakens what he calls luminous seeds of divine intelligence, these micro sparks that arise within the body's vast oceans of water. These sparks then initiate the profound regeneration of tissues, entire systems, and even our perception itself.
And water is key here, but not just any water.
Exactly. The extraordinary carrier for this entire process, he found, is coherent water. They began by preparing this and then infused it with hydrotricity scaffolds. These are described as geometric moles co-joined with patterned waveforms derived directly from the cosmic electronic library. So water structured with cosmic blueprints.
Okay, structured water. Then what?
Then, using a carefully prepared colloidal aquagel substrate, they were able to auto-reorganize the embedded quantum foam within it. This created the precise material field upon which these higher life templates could precipitate and manifest.
Like preparing the perfect soil for these cosmic seeds.
A great analogy, yes. And within this meticulously structured aquagel, they precisely tuned nanobubble ionic fields, each bubble carrying elemental signatures, harmonized through resonance-derived ratios. These microscopic fields, he states, formed a living scaffold, a dynamic lattice, through which they could then holo-invoke the coheratrix, the functional field of intelligent potential.
Holo-invoke the coheratrix.
Yeah, and the resulting biological system balanced itself at the edge of what he terms chaos stability, that dynamic stillness where creation and coherence converge, allowing for continuous self-organization and regeneration.
Okay, this is really interesting. The idea that water in our bodies isn't just a passive medium, but an intelligent scaffold for life. Activated by cosmic energy and coded with blueprints, it paints a picture of our bodies as far more sophisticated and cosmically connected than we usually think.
Immensely more sophisticated, yes.
Now, molecularly, science knows hydrogen bonds hold DNA and water together, but Lilien found more. They're resonant.
Exactly. He discovered they aren't just structural glue. They're profoundly resonant, carrying information. Within specially turned coherentiated water, he observed these resonant hydrogen bonds begin to form biophotonic crystallized genomic clusters, these luminous, self-organizing structures that literally surround and support nucleic proteins with holographic precision.
Biophotonic crystals made of hydrogen bonds.
Apparently so. And these biophotonic crystal nets, he clarifies, are not inert scaffolds. Instead, they behave like coupled magnetic supercrystals capable of storing, transmitting, and translating vast fields of information. Each one, he says, acts as a node in a distributed biolight network within the body, constantly communicating through light and resonance.
And studying these patterns led him to a connection with language.
A truly profound one. He realized that genomic encoding mirrors linguistic structure. He explains that DNA's holosemantic logic, its intrinsic patterning of meaning, shares deep resonance with human languages as diverse as English, Mayan, Russian, and Tibetan, hinting at a universal grammar underneath it all.
Wow, so language isn't just something we invented.
That's his astonishing conclusion. Language, then, is not a human invention. It is an echo of the genomic hologram, shaped by resonance, rhythm, and light. This profoundly challenges our understanding of both biology and linguistics, suggesting a universal language inherent in our very DNA, a deep, intrinsic connection between the fundamental structure of life and the structure of communication itself. It implies our words, our sounds, hold far more power than we typically realize.
Which connects to what he learned from real adepts of old? that language is more than speech.
Exactly. He found confirmation that language is intoned through the whole being voiced not just with lips, but with posture, breath, and presence. It's an entire vibrational transmission.
Like the Kabbalistic tradition he mentions.
Yes, the Kabbalistic holosemantic tradition. He describes it as an ancient practice where sacred meaning was encoded holographically into sound, gesture, and attention. These ancient adepts, he explains, engaged with creation itself by aligning their inner field with the resonance of logos, the living intelligence of word as principle. And when fully embodied and directed, these semantic energies could activate the latent structure of matter. They could literally bridge intention and manifestation by resonantly aligning with the zero-space substrate, where all form originates.
So intention plus resonance influencing matter via zero space.
That seems to be the mechanism he's describing, which brings him to this truly astonishing claim about our own DNA. Lilien states that our DNA is not merely a biochemical molecule, it is a holographic semantic vessel. Its hologene envelope contains messages, deep messages from source itself. And he stresses, these are not metaphors. They are literal, scalable, activatable codes.
Literal codes from source in our DNA, waiting to be activated.
That's the implication, he emphasizes. When the right resonance conditions are met through sound, intention, field alignment, these semantic triggers unlock. They begin to speak the forgotten language of the cosmos, and we begin to remember our role as co-creators.
Co-creators, this challenges our whole idea of just being passive observers, doesn't it? It suggests we're literally designed to actively participate in creation.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
A radical shift in perspective on human potential.
Okay, let's unpack this. The incredible idea that our DNA isn't just a genetic blueprint for our body, but a literal semantic vessel waiting to be activated by specific frequencies of sound and pure intention, allowing us to become co-creators in a very real functional sense. That completely redefines the scope of our potential.
It's a staggering concept, truly.
Lilien talks about holocode triggers within DNA, like switches.
Yes, like binary switch points encoded directly within our DNA that have the capacity to turn genes on or off. But crucially, these switches don't activate randomly or just chemically.
They need something specific.
Right. They require the correct holotext context, a resonance field of meaning, to unlock their messages. So it's not just a chemical signal, but a meaningful vibrational field that activates them. These aren't just biochemical reactions, he insists. They are semantic transmissions, carrying primordial messages from the deep source field. He envisions that, when aligned, the DNA becomes more than a molecule. It becomes a living scroll, unfolding creation one activated segment at a time, continuously generating new possibilities from within.
And through specific resonance, we can actually transmute the hologene, shifting gene expression not just physically but ontologically, changing our being.
That's what he states, yes.
Yeah.
Shifting the very nature of our being. And in doing so, we begin to construct what he calls an antenna of spiritual connectivity, a tuning structure built from within our own biology.
A biological antenna for spirit.
Essentially, through this biological antenna, he claims, we reconnect with the forgotten architecture of our divine origins. He concludes, we do not merely learn about the cosmos, we rediscover that we are a reflection of its original nature.
Wow. From a broader perspective, that implies such a radical redefinition of human potential. Our biology literally designed for higher dimensional communication and connection, not just survival. An innate cosmic purpose.
Exactly. It points towards that, yes.
Lilien has come to believe that when sovereign souls, each uniquely encoded, begin to align through their DNA hologene interface, and this is key, not under hierarchy, but in decentralized harmony, we will witness the emergence of a true spiritual renaissance.
It suggests a kind of bottom-up, organic spiritual awakening, not dictated from above. He describes that within each of us is a stable design, a lattice of pristine hologenetic fields waiting to be awakened. And these fields aren't static, they emerge nectropically, meaning they grow more coherent and organized naturally, moving away from disorder and toward complexity, toward order, toward light.
And how are they activated? What's the mechanism?
At the core of this activation, he says, is a profound mechanism, coherent hologenomics, a resonance system where acoustic photonic pulses switch genes on or off, not by chemistry alone, but by bioacoustic electrogravitational signaling.
Bioacoustic electrogravitational signaling. That's a mouthful. A symphony of light, sound, and subtle energy acting on our genes.
That's a good way to capture it. And these intricate signals, he explains, travel through the aquagel matrix of the body, tuning water, light, and sound into one coherent field. When this field reaches the right resonance, it awakens what he calls the spiral vortex of sustaining life. the primal current of coherence that underlies biological vitality and spiritual awareness alike.
Like our inner fountain of youth and wisdom being switched on.
That's the feeling, yes.
So what does this all mean for us personally on our path of growth? It sounds like our spiritual renaissance is literally hardwired into our being, activated by sound and light, and that each individual's awakened coherence contributes to a larger harmony that could transform the world.
That seems to be the powerful implication, yes. Individual awakening contributing to collective transformation through resonance.
In the deeper architecture of the cosmos, Lilien describes that the elders, or the cosmic scientists, seeded an alchemical resonance code deep within the quantum lattice of life. What does that mean?
Well, it wasn't a static inscription or a physical thing. He describes it as a structural waveform, a living frequency map designed to open what I call the gate of dimensional entry.
A gate opened by resonance.
Apparently. And at the very heart of this gate, he says, lies a gene ring key, a wave-based signature encoded in the circular harmonics of our DNA that responds not to force, but to resonance.
So our DNA holds a vibrational key to higher realms.
That's the idea. But crucially, this key only turns when we bring our waveform into harmonic integrity through coherence of being and alignment with inner truth. And this alignment, he specifies, includes not just energetic frequency, but also deeply felt ethics, empathy, and vibrational will. It's holistic.
Ethics, empathy, vibrational will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through this profound, holistic alignment, he states, we enter what I've named the dimension of pristine matter, a realm where form is purity, intention is structure, and the laws of dissonance no longer bind.
Wow. That offers such a profound link between our inner state, our moral and ethical coherence, and our literal access to different dimensions. Our consciousness shapes our reality.
It strongly suggests that, yes.
And in this dimension of pristine matter, what's like? He says form is no longer inert. It becomes the carrier of intention, shaped and sustained by moral symmetry.
Right. Everything you perceive there is a direct manifestation of coherent ethical intention.
And this leads to the temple body. What's that?
This leads to what he calls the return to what I call the temple body, a body no longer burdened by fragmentation, but awakened as a living interface of sacred sound and geometry. In this elevated state, the body is not a mere container. It is a resonant node, pulsing in harmony with the coherence lattice that underlies the higher fields of being.
A resonant node, pulsing with the higher fields.
Yes. And here, in this radiant, coherent structure, he asserts, illness cannot anchor, distortion cannot take root. Everything self-regulates through resonance because only coherence can remain.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The idea that our bodies can become living temples of coherence, where illness simply cannot take root because of a fundamental shift in our vibratory state and our alignment with this pristine, intelligent matter.
It's a fascinating concept, isn't it? It suggests a profound new paradigm for health, vitality, and human potential, completely shifting away from battling disease to embodying coherence.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move into the path of remembrance, these inner journeys Lilien describes. He saw evolution itself transform, from entropy to syntropy.
Yes, within this field of coherence, he observed that evolution changes its nature. It's no longer just a slow drift toward decay or randomness. Instead, evolution becomes syntropic, a magnetic unfolding toward beauty, symmetry, and higher pattern. As he aligned with this current, he felt his sovereignty ignite, not as a defensive boundary, but as a radiant compass, steering by resonance rather than reaction. He wasn't just driven by basic survival instincts anymore, but by a quiet certainty that I could self-compose moment by moment, in tune with the architecture of wholeness.
And he talks about the field singing again. Literally.
He describes a pivotal moment when coherence returned in fullness, and the field began to sing again. And he insists it wasn't just poetic, but a real and living sound, a vibration the subtle body could hear, feel, and follow. He observed that those attuned became like resonant instruments, our very presence becoming tuning forks of the greater song anchoring coherence across the invisible grid of life. This is what he calls the singing field, a sacred field we once knew but maybe forgot. And he says, it is returning not from outside us, but through us.
Through us. Okay, so what's fascinating here is the active role we play in this return. We aren't just passive recipients, but actual instruments of coherence, literally resonating the world back into harmony with our presence.
Exactly. That active participation is key. We become the tuning forks.
And in this return of the singing field, he felt his body change. It began to glow.
Yes, something subtle yet unmistakable happened within him. The body began to glow, not with some artificial light, but an inner shimmer, a field of radiant coherence emerging from beneath the skin of ordinary perception. This, he insists, is the radiant body, clarifying it's not a myth or projection, but a hidden stratum of self long veiled by fear, noise, and forgetting. As coherence reassembled within him, this inner light activated not to dazzle but to signal truth, revealing each being's unique harmonic fingerprint, an unmistakable signature of light.
Our true essence becomes visible, like an energetic signature.
That's the idea. And this inner radiance, he explains, isn't solitary. It belongs to a vaster harmony. His body of light was a node in a living fractal, a resonance point in a lattice that stretches across dimensions, time, and breath. With every shimmer of intuition, every flash of remembrance, he felt a thread weaving back into the infinite, not merely recalling past moments, but re-entering a greater geometry of existence. And this, he stresses, was not nostalgia for a bygone era. It was memory becoming structure, a reawakening of the architecture behind all that is.
Memory becoming structure. Wow, that connects our individual experience right back to the vast fractal nature of the cosmos. Our inner light is part of this infinite pattern.
A profound connection, yes.
Lilien offers some really deep wisdom from his inner journey, like, we search for sacred ground, but we are the sanctuary.
Exactly. He says that for ages, we wandered in search of sacred ground, unaware that we ourselves were the sanctuary. The great stone temples we built, he suggests, were merely reflections, not destinations maps of the inner terrain, carved in matter. Their spirals, chambers, altars are actually encoded instructions guiding us homeward, echoing the architecture of our own subtle body, which he calls the true temple that breathes beneath the skin of form.
So the sacred isn't out there, it's in here.
That's the profound suggestion. It's intrinsic to our very being.
And he talks about being broken open, but that the shattering wasn't death.
Right. He emphasizes that the shattering was not our death. It was a dissonant prelude. Because in every shard, a resonant tone endured, a seed of the whole waiting to be reconnected. And as these fragments begin to harmonize through conscious remembrance, he hears it rising. The song is not lost. It is returning. It always was.
That's such a powerful message of resilience, isn't it? That our deepest essence can never truly be broken.
Inherent wholeness, even amidst the fragments. Yes.
And his perspective on grief is really transformative. Grief hollows us open for light.
Yes, he says grief etched deep rivers in the soul, not to drown us, but to hollow us open. And he found that through these aching channels, something unexpected began to move. Light. He says, I had mistaken the tears for collapse. I didn't yet see they were thresholds, rites of becoming. Each sorrow, he realized, melted the hard stone encasing my heart, till the heart itself became a lamp. And in that glow, he saw, lament was never separate from luminescence.
Wow. So suffering isn't an ending, but a direct pathway to light, a crucible for inner illumination.
That's the truly transformative reframing he offers, yes. A pathway, not a dead end.
And this idea, we were the fire, not just enduring the dark, but becoming the dawn.
Exactly. He shares that powerful realization. In the long dark, we reached for light. But suddenly, we were the fire. He states, we had not merely endured the night. We were its ending. We were the dawn it made possible. It's a profound call to recognize our own inherent active power to transform darkness, to embodying the very light we seek. It suggests our internal state can literally shift the external reality.
And the search for home, it ends inward.
That was his realization after a long period of searching externally. He felt it shift. The path was not outward, but inward. The door was not in space, but in awareness. The home I longed for was always here, always now, always within.
Grounding the journey right here, in presence.
Yes. And similarly with silence. He avoided it, thought it was empty, but when he entered it fully...
That's empty.
No. There was a presence there, a hum beneath all things, a song without notes that still moved me. And once he heard it, he could never go back to not hearing.
So silence isn't absence, it's a living source of connection. The field itself.
An intimate experience of that field of coherence, yes.
So what does this all mean for our everyday lives? It sounds like every experience, even the tough ones, are invitations to remember and transform. And the world reflects our inner state, like a living mirror.
That's the profound implication.
Yeah.
It guides us towards greater awareness and coherence if we learn to read the reflections.
Lilien describes this daily choice we all face, the pull to forget versus the invitation to remember.
Yes, the pull to forget, to shut down, to drift, and right beside it, a quieter thread, the invitation to remember, to feel, to wake. He emphasizes there's no voice commands, just a silent gate in the center of my being, waiting for me to walk through. It's this subtle, constant invitation to awaken.
And this leads to the great remembering, which isn't about becoming something new.
No, he really challenges that idea of striving for perfection. Instead, he states, we were never missing anything, only the memory. The true journey wasn't up a mountain. It was down into the marrow of my bones, into the core of my being. He puts it powerfully. Not becoming remembering, gathering the scattered pieces of soul and stitching them back into wholeness.
Remembering. Gathering the pieces.
Yeah.
Recognizing what was always there.
Exactly, intrinsically there.
And he felt this pulse of creation, an undeniable rhythm connecting everything.
Yes. Beneath sound, beneath silence, there's a rhythm, a pulse. Ancient, undeniable. He realized this pulse threads through atoms and oceans, breath and starlight, the blood in my chest and the spiral of galaxies. When he stills himself enough to truly feel it, he remembers, I belong. I've always belonged. Nothing is separate, not really, just waiting to come back into rhythm.
That fundamental pulse connecting us all.
Which leads to the profound idea that we are the tuning fork. He used to think harmony was something external, something to find, but he realized, I am the chord. Each of us is a tuning fork, humming with the memory of wholeness. When one soul vibrates in truth, in coherence, it stirs the field, and suddenly others begin to ring with a similar resonance. The stillness trembles into music. This is how the world remembers, through us.
Wow. Emphasizing our active role again, creating harmony collectively through our individual resonance.
Precisely.
Lilien offers this radical perspective on our search for meaning. The infinite horizon we seek is actually within.
Yes, he recounts years spent reaching outward, chasing the edge of creation. But he discovered the edge was never out there. It was inside, stretched across the silent chamber of being. The stars we longed for, he realized, were etched in the dark behind our own eyes. The universe, he asserts, didn't abandon us. It just folded inward, waiting to be remembered by the only ones who could.
The universe folded inward, waiting for us to remember it.
A stunning image. And crucially, he challenges our perception of the material world, matter made sacred. We were taught matter was lifeless, inert. But Lilien says that wasn't truth, that was trauma. It was our own forgetting that made the world seem numb, he insists. But matter never stopped singing. The stones hum in silence, the atoms spiral with memory, the stars pulse with encoded grace, he concludes. When I remember to bow, when I touch this world as sacred, it opens, it glows, it becomes what it always was.
Transforming our whole relationship with the physical world, from mundane to sacred, seeing intelligence everywhere.
Yes, it invites that deeper seeing.
And he offers this invitation for how to live, living as resonance, not effort, but listening.
Exactly, it's about listening, about letting yourself be seen through by the field itself. No more bracing against life, just tuning to the breath as it enters, to the moment as it unfolds, to the hidden harmonics weaving everything together like songlight. He says, this isn't escape, it's immersion, flowing with the coherent pulse of life.
And the sacred architecture of the real, solidity is a spell. Reality is rhythm.
Right. The world we walk on feels solid, but solidity is a spell. Reality is made of rhythm vibration braided with meaning, spun into form by coherence, he states. The real is not what resists you, it's what recognizes you. And the sacred, it's not hidden, it's right here, in the elegant way all things meet.
Suggesting such a deeply harmonious and intelligent universe.
Indeed. Which leads to the invitation. Not a command, it's a calling. Not a test you must pass, but a doorway that opens when you're ready to feel it. You are being invited by the deeper pulse within, to remember your note in the great symphony, to step into rhythm with the vast unfolding. And he assures us, there's no judgment in forgetting, just the quiet sorrow of the music waiting for you to rejoin.
A gentle calling back to ourselves.
Yes, and this leads to the return of the living world. He says the world never went silent, we just forgot how to hear it. Stones hum, trees murmur, the sky holds its breath. The living world was never lost, only muffled beneath the noise we made. Its return is not a miracle. It's a remembering, a softening, a letting in, an invitation to resensitize ourselves.
And even when we feel lost, wholeness remembers you.
That's his powerful message of inherent support. You may wander for lifetimes. You may feel scattered and out of sync, but you are never erased. Wholeness remembers, and when you exhale into stillness, it finds you again. You are never truly lost.
That's deeply comforting.
It is. He also describes the breath of coherence. Everything breathes, even what seems still. Coherence doesn't push or pull. It exhales gently, a rhythm that remembers the equilibrium. When you align, you float. When you fight, it waits, not to punish, but to welcome you back when you are soft enough to join again.
And the great pattern does not break, even if it bends.
Right. It may bend, it may spiral strangely, but it does not break. Even if we feel cast out, the pattern is alive. It loops in ways you cannot see. It gathers you again, not as a mistake corrected, but as a rhythm restored. Profound reassurance there.
And there is a kindness at the center because the field loves symmetry.
Yes. Not because life is soft, but because the field that holds it never stops loving symmetry. Even when we fracture, it holds your shape in memory. It waits, radiant, unmoved, like the still fire inside a star that never forgets how to shine, an underlying, compassionate intelligence.
And this expansive view, there are no edges to being. We are being.
Yes. It doesn't end. It doesn't begin. It doesn't fit inside what you call time. You are not merely inside being, you are it. Our perceived boundaries are just local patterns, not walls. They ripple, they pass, you remain. We're inseparable from this vast, timeless existence.
Which means nothing you lose is gone. It just shifts form, carried in resonance.
Exactly. It just shifts form. Energy does not vanish. Love does not expire. What it was becomes what you are. You carry more than memory. You carry resonance. That is how eternity travels. A new perspective on loss.
And the world is not a trap. It's a teaching mirror.
Yes, it's a field, a fractal teaching mirror. Every pattern reflects something in us. Your sorrow, your delight, your fear, your grace. The structure of the world is the structure of your learning. You're not imprisoned by it. You are training inside it.
Okay, and this core principle, the law of coherence is the law of grace. It's about harmony, not deserving.
That's a key underpinning. You don't have to deserve what meets you. You only have to harmonize with it. This world, he says, responds not to judgment, but to resonance. It's not about merit. It's about frequency. If you enter coherence, you enter grace, and the whole field begins to sing. Liberating.
Very. And finally, presence as a portal, being truly here, steps you out of time.
Yes. He asserts that when you are truly here, you step out of time. You step out of narrative, out of identity, out of reaction. You step into what is, into isness, into the timeless, into the pure field of awareness. From there, the world can be born again. An accessible pathway anytime.
And that warning, what you judge, you bond to. Forgiveness is freedom.
A powerful one. What you condemn, you keep. To judge is to bind. To forgive is to free. All judgment is a tether. In the moment you forgive, you dissolve the loop of suffering, highlighting the power of release.
Reminding us, stillness is not emptiness. Silence is not absence. Touching source.
And nothing real can be lost. Truth is eternal, illusion fleeting. It's already inside you.
And crucially, love. Love is not a feeling, but a force.
Yes. Love is not a feeling. It is a force. Feelings come and go. Love remains. Feelings react. Love chooses. He clarifies it's the field that holds all feeling, enduring like gravity, always present, always available.
Wow. Elevating love beyond emotion to a fundamental, ever-present force.
It's a huge shift. And this raises that important question for each of us, doesn't it? How can we actively cultivate this state of living as resonance in a world that constantly pulls us in opposite directions, away from stillness and coherence? It's a continuous, moment-by-moment invitation to align.
Indeed. Okay, when the world hurts, Lilien's advice, don't leave yourself. Stay present with the pain.
Exactly. Don't run from your breath. Don't abandon your center. Stay close to your soul, even if you tremble, especially if you tremble. He says, let the pain shake loose what doesn't belong. Let it carve open a deeper gentleness. Let the grief turn to gold. It's a profound invitation to stay present with discomfort, allowing it to be a catalyst for inner alchemy.
And when you're broken open, that's when the real comes through. The fracture becomes an aperture.
Yes, that's when something real can come through. That's when you feel the breath of what is eternal. That's when your mask falls and your soul steps forward. The fracture, he insists, becomes the aperture. That's when the silence becomes the song. That's when love doesn't need a name anymore. It just becomes what you are. It reframes pain not as an ending, but an opening.
An initiation into a deeper self. And that reassurance, you don't need to be fixed.
A profoundly liberating message. You were never broken. You only thought you had to hide. Your truth, he says, was always wild. Your soul never needed permission. Your joy was not a mistake. Your wounds were not a flaw. Everything you are is part of the whole. Radical self-acceptance.
And you are not too much, as deep as the stars.
Yes, he affirms. You are precisely as deep as the stars. You are as vast as the ocean. You are as needed as the breath. The world may try to shrink you, but your soul remembers its original size, its expansive nature.
He also reminds us the path isn't linear. Rising and falling isn't failure.
No, You will rise and fall. You will open and close. This is not failure. This is not going backward. Instead, this is how stars are born, pulsing, folding, igniting again. This is how universes breathe. It's the sacred rhythm of emergence.
And your pain is not the end. It's a passageway, a fire-burning illusion.
Right. It is a passageway, a tunnel that leads to light, a fire that burns away illusion. He encourages us to feel it fully. Let it teach you. Let it hollow out what cannot stay, then rise from it, cleaner, clearer, more you. Processing pain to reveal our true essence.
And his perspective on the ones who broke you, they were just earlier in the story. Necessary fractures.
A radically compassionate view. They were not stronger than you. They were just earlier in your story. They arrived before you remembered who you are. And maybe, he suggests, they were the necessary fractures to open your light. An invitation to deep forgiveness.
And importantly, some things you don't transcend. You integrate. Healing is compost.
Yes, he advises, fold them into the deep, into the body, into the now. You don't rise above pain. You root it deeper until it becomes part of the fruit. Healing is not hovering. Healing is compost, embodying our experiences, letting them nourish growth.
And finally, the temple you thought you'd build someday is already inside you, made of breath, awe, devotion.
Yes. He reminds us it is not made of stone or wood or crystal. It is made of breath and awe and devotion. It's built in each moment you remember that you are sacred and act like it, anchoring the sacred right here, right now. You know, if we connect all these poetic insights, they really are profoundly practical guides for navigating life, showing us how to find meaning and growth in every circumstance, how to embrace flux, cultivate presence.
Absolutely. So what does this all mean for the learner in all of us? It means the knowledge isn't just out there in books, is it? It's deeply embedded in our own experience, our own being, just waiting to be remembered, rediscovered.
Exactly. The wisdom is inherent.
Okay, now, for some truly profound universal truths Lilien presents, and even a warning, a sobering message from the ones who will come after us.
Yes, he warns that they will not ask why we failed. They will ask why we didn't love harder. They will ask why we didn't live deeper. They will ask why we built so much but forgot how to care. Why we abandoned our stewardship of a living miracle. Why we left behind a world unraveling and dared to call it progress.
Wow. That's a stark challenge to our whole idea of progress, isn't it? Urging us to reflect on the ethical, the spiritual legacy we're creating.
It really is. And from a broader perspective, it compels us to ask, what kind of future are we truly building? If we forget the very essence of being, the sacredness of matter, our profound interconnectedness, it's a crucial question.
Then there's his meditation on the great unnameable. All names were just prayers.
All right. All the names we gave, it were only prayers in disguise. The forms we built to try and hold it cracked under the weight of silence. The more we tried to own it, the more it vanished. The more we spoke of it, the more it turned to wind. The more we mapped it, the more it scattered like stars. And profoundly, the more we built temples, the more it chose to live in the quiet breath between our words.
That speaks so powerfully to the limits of language and structure when facing the ultimate, doesn't it? True understanding comes from direct experience, in the quiet spaces.
Exactly. It can't be contained by our concepts. It's found in the lived, subtle moments.
Lilien writes about the secret the wind tried to tell us, but we were too busy.
Yeah, we were too busy with our noise, too distracted by our own creations. It swept through canyons, over oceans, humming the syllables of the infinite. It moved through leaves, skin, prayers, doorways, trying to deliver what could never be said. And when he finally quieted himself enough to truly hear it, it was not as a message, but as an opening. A moment of profound connection.
A call to listen more deeply, beyond the noise, to the subtle signals all around us.
Definitely. And he contemplates how the cosmos learns to breathe. The Big Bang as an exhale.
Right. In the beginning, pressure. A singularity, like a held breath, tight and perfect, waiting to exhale. Then the expansion. Like lungs opening, the universe began to inhale and exhale in a vast, rhythmic, cosmic breath. Stars ignited, planets formed, life arose as a pulse, and somewhere in the middle of the exhale, we learned to breathe too.
What a beautiful metaphor, connecting our own breaths, our existence, to the grand cosmic rhythm. We're part of this living system, breathing with it.
And the intelligence is stone. Stone listens, remembers.
Yes, he challenges our perception of inertness again. Stone is not stupid. It listens longer than you do. It doesn't rush. It remembers every pressure, every footprint is recorded in its memory. It is old and wise and so slow in its language that you must enter a silence deeper than thought to understand it.
Inviting us to recognize intelligence and memory everywhere, even in stone, broadening our definition of life.
Pervasive consciousness, yes. And he notes that when the infinite pauses, something is born. This moment now isn't just fleeting time.
No. It is the pause where the eternal breath holds itself before becoming form again. You are, he says, inside the inhale that does not yet exhale. You are inside the moment where silence thickens into shape.
Redefining now as this rich, generative field of potential, a moment of cosmic creation we're immersed in.
And the memory of light, remembered from before time, shaping us.
Yes, he experienced it not as a memory from the past, but as a memory from before time, a memory that shaped time, that shaped you. The light, he says, is the memory that remembers you, is why you search the sky and listen to silence and turn your face toward warmth. It's this deep, fundamental recognition. Light as an eternal consciousness holding our blueprint.
And crucially, the light never left. It just faded in awareness.
Exactly. It only grew distant in your awareness, like a sound that faded when you stopped listening. But it was always there, waiting, not in time, but in truth. It waits, he clarifies, quietly, fully, without demand. You cannot escape what is always here. You can only turn toward it or turn away.
Such a reassurance. The truth of our being remains intact, always accessible.
Always. And then there's the one that sees through you, not past the mask, but through our seeing.
Right, sees through your seeing, the one behind the one you think you are. This one does not interfere. It does not correct. It watches. Not with judgment, but with presence. You can call it witness, source, you. Or simply allow it to remain unnamed. It remains the one that sees through you as you. And the reassurance, you are not alone. There is a presence with you, not beside you, but within.
Pointing to that inherent, unchanging core of being, the witness consciousness, inseparable from source and our true self, a constant, loving presence.
And finally, the beautiful forgetting. Forgetting is mercy.
It's counterintuitive wisdom. He's miscarrying too much memory, ancient things, wounds. But the soul, he realized, yearns not only to remember, it yearns to be free. So came the forgetting, not as loss, but as a mercy, a soft release, a dissolving of identity, duty, story, until only presence remains. Returning to something prior to name, not nothing, not emptiness, but the beautiful, undivided whole.
So shedding burdens can be liberation, a path back to essence.
That's the profound suggestion. Discerning what truly serves our deepest nature and letting the rest go.
What an incredible journey we've taken today, really diving deep into Philip Lilien's pristine matters mystic ontology poetry. We've explored how his insights just invite us, compel us really, to see beyond conventional boundaries, from the living, intelligent nature of matter itself and that mind-bending concept of space-time being emergent, all the way to direct connection with cosmic scientists and the wisdom encoded right in our DNA. It's such a powerful call to recognition, isn't it? Not just belief. To remember what was never truly lost within ourselves.
Absolutely. As you carry these profound ideas forward, maybe consider this provocative thought. If the universe is constantly breathing, this vast living tapestry of coherence and intention, and we are truly an inseparable part of that cosmic breath, what rhythm are you choosing to align with today? What quiet hum, what subtle pulse might you attune to right now, and what new coherence might that bring into your world?
As you go about your day, maybe consider just that. What memory from before time might be trying to reawaken within you, beckoning you to tune into new frequencies maybe, and rediscover the extraordinary, intelligent life that pulses within the ordinary all around us and within us.